Good day, welcome to our webinar, and today's topic, child maintenance applications. I shall not deal with the issue concerning how to apply for child maintenance, what are the requirements to apply for child maintenance, the process, and so on. I have many videos posted on that specific topic. Today I want to touch on a few issues when dealing with child maintenance matters. Basically, if you follow me on these specific points, you should be able to handle your child maintenance matter much better. Those are the few points. I shall unpack it a bit later. However, let me stipulate it quickly. Focus on the child's expenses. Remember, the other parent has no obligation to maintain you. Ensure you have supporting evidence. And lastly, don't be afraid to state your case. So those are the basic points I would like to highlight in this specific webinar. And hopefully it would assist you in your specific maintenance application. If, however, you would like to know how to apply for child maintenance, the process, etc., please refer to our previous videos. There are many articles on our lawyer website, www.ourlawyer.co.za, where you can find a lot of relevant information on assisting you on how to apply for child maintenance. You'd also find a child maintenance calculator that would be very useful in calculating the amount of maintenance you'd like to claim. Okay, so before we begin, child maintenance. Here specifically I'm referring to, and people might say I'm being unnecessary here, but to maintenance for a minor child. Where you are the guardian, you are the parent of the minor child, the child is under 18 years old, from 0 to, for 1 day at least, until just before the child turns 18 years old. Once the child turns 18 years old, we're dealing with an adult, and that's a separate process with its own technicalities and so on. But the long and the short of the matter is, once you are an adult, you should apply for maintenance yourself. There are some exceptions, of course. Child maintenance, the child is 17 or younger, you the parent applying for child maintenance. So I won't be dealing much with the issue concerning the other parent who is defending the application. There would be a separate video dealing with that specific scenario. Today my client, the person in front of me, is someone who is applying for child maintenance. And if you are someone who is opposing a child maintenance application, please follow along. You may be able to apply some of these principles to your specific case on how to defend it or how to deal with it. Or if the parent applying for child maintenance is applying other principles or other scenarios to your specific matter, you may be able to interject and say, this doesn't make sense, should this not be the case? Okay, let's start. Focus on the child's expenditure. Now, many parents, when they start a child maintenance application process, they focus a lot on their expenditure, which is relevant. That's of course. However, please note the other party, and as you will see from my second point, has no legal obligation to maintain you, and therefore you're not claiming maintenance for yourself. Yes, the amount of maintenance the other party has to pay has an effect on your ability to maintain the minor child to a certain extent and your specific expenditure. For argument's sake, let's say the child cost 1,000 rand, for lack of a better, for easy amount to work with, and your income is 3,000 rand per month. For you to survive and for you to look after yourself, you require about 2,500 rand. So it's important that we know what your income is, and we need to know what you spend your money on. That's very important as well. You can't spend all your money on one asset and say, because of this one asset I cannot support my minor child. It has to be reasonable. But let's go on to point number 1. Focus on the child's expenditure. The reason why I'm saying so is because the other party has a legal obligation to pay maintenance based upon the child's expenditure. So if the child costs 1,000 Rand per month to survive, to live, accommodation, food, clothing, medical, and so on, the other parent who is supposed to pay maintenance would pay a maximum. The maximum he or she would ever pay would be 1,000 Rand because the child costs that amount of money. He or she would not be ordered to pay any cent beyond that. And depending upon you as a parent caring for the minor child, or the caregiver, the one claiming maintenance, depending upon what your contribution should be, would lower that 1,000 Rand. So for argument's sake, let's say the child costs 1,000 Rand per month, you earn 3,000 Rand per month, the other parent earns 3,000 Rand per month. An argument can be made that both parents should pay 500 Rand towards a minor child's expenditure. Therefore, your 500 Rand will be used partly used towards the accommodation, food, clothing, and so on, and the other parents' 5,000 Rand would be used for exactly the same. But he or she would only pay 500 Rand, not 1,000 Rand plus, 1,001 Rand. Maximum 1,000 Rand, but in my scenario, 500 Rand. When you focus on the minor child expenditure, it's important to deal with actual expenditure. Many people add on expenses, and what sometimes becomes evident is that they've added things that the minor child never ever required or used or incurred. And that's quick to work out, because what the mother is basically saying is, my salary is 3,000 Rand per month, but the child cost 4,000 Rand per month. It's illogical. It doesn't make sense. How can the child cost 4,000 Rand per month, but the mother only earns 3,000 Rand per month, and of the 3,000 Rand per month she must use for herself and for her own expenditure as well? It doesn't make logical sense. Yes, maintenance applications aren't based solely upon what the child has been using or incurring in the sense of expenditure. You can stipulate and say, I would like to enroll the minor child into extramural activities. The child requires additional clothing, but I could never ever have afforded it in the past, and therefore I require the other parent to pay a contribution towards that. That is possible, but you need to stipulate that. The court needs to know that. But when you stipulate that the child costs so much money, it needs to be well worked out and well explained. Therefore, if your accommodation cost is 2,000 Rand per month, and please, I ask you your indulgence, I'm using very simple figures here, and figures that might not make sense in reality. I might even say that a child's schooling cost 50 Rand, for argument's sake, but it's all just to explain to the viewer on how calculations takes place. Now, moving forward on that specific point. So if you say your accommodation costs 2,000 Rand per month, for argument's sake, you need to work out what portion of that 2,000 Rand per month for accommodation should be allocated to the minor child. Now, it's simple just to say half, 1,000 Rand, but it shouldn't be that way. Now you're moving into a house, you're renting a house of 4 bedrooms, but the only people living in that house is you and the minor child, 2 people. Therefore, you, out of your own, rented a house with 2 additional bedrooms. Can we expect the other parent to pay towards those additional bedrooms, which will be most probably used for yourself, for your own office, for your home office, your home gym, whatever you are using it for, or for other people to live in, should they come visit or come on a holiday, and so on? Therefore, in determining what the amount of accommodation should be for the minor child, you need to focus on what portion of this house is used towards a minor child. And I like using this example. If you did not have the minor child living with you, let's say the minor child was living with the other parent, and you had to choose accommodation, what would be the cost of the accommodation? Would it be a 4-bedroom house? Would it be a 2-bedroom house? Would it be a 1-bedroom house or apartment? if it is a one bedroom apartment, what's the costly of? Let's say the costly of would be 1,200 rand. But because you have the minor child with you, you need to now factor in this additional expenditure. There's still one bedroom, sorry, there's still one bathroom, there's still one kitchen, but now it costs a bit more money for additional bedroom. And let's say that additional bedroom costs